Chinese billionaire stopped in his tracks after janitor's daughter spoke Mandarin at 3 a.m. The clock's hands pointed to 3, the world fell silent, but in the dimly lit corridor of the lavish hotel, an unearthly sound broke the stillness. It was the voice of a girl, small, yet powerful, ringing out in perfectly spoken Mandarin. The walls seemed to echo her words, sending shivers down the spine of Chang Wei, a billionaire known for his ruthless business tactics and unflinching demeanor. He halted mid-stride, the air thick with an aura of mystery that tightened around him like a noose. Esther, the janitor's daughter, stood there. She was mere 15, her eyes wild with an unspoken truth that danced behind them. She didn't belong in this world of opulence, yet here she was, her presence electrifying every being who could hear her. How did a girl from a tiny town in Indiana learn a language renowned for its complexity? A language spoken in whispered tones over exotic teas, and now, at this hour, rippling through the air like a curse. The guests peering from their suites exchanged nervous glances, murmurs swirling around them like a brewing storm. "Can you believe this?" someone gasped. "A janitor's daughter? Speaking Mandarin? At this hour?" Chang felt a cold sweat trickling down his back. His instincts screamed at him to walk away, to ignore the strange spectacle unfolding before him, yet he couldn't move. It was as if a spell had been cast, rooting him in place. With every syllable Esther uttered, an unsettling energy pulsed through the air, moving from the girl to the billionaire, a thread connecting them in an unseen way. Was she warning him? Or could she potentially ruin him? His heart raced, matching the frenetic rhythm of his thoughts, fear tightening around his chest like a vice. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." Cheng's breath caught as a sudden hush fell over the crowd. Esther paused, looking straight at him, her expression piercing right through the chaos surrounding them. "You need to listen," she said, voice trembling yet steady. Every eye narrowed in doubt, but in that moment, it felt as if the universe drew closer, holding its breath, waiting for the next twist in this bizarre encounter. What secret could this girl hold? Why had her voice called out to him? As the weight of the moment settled in, Chang wondered, was he ready to face whatever truth she had to reveal? Esther's eyes flickered with a fire that seemed out of place in the swanky hotel lobby. "They're coming for you," she continued, her voice quaking ever so slightly, but it didn't diminish the force behind her words. Chang felt his heart pound in his chest, each beat drumming a warning. Murmurs broke out among the crowd. Whispers of disbelief mixed with the stench of skepticism hung thick in the air. Some guests stepped back, instinctively putting distance between themselves and the girl who had stirred the night into disarray. Others edged closer, eyes wide with morbid curiosity, like moths drawn to a flickering flame. "What do you mean?" Chang asked, his voice barely above a whisper. He could feel his throat tightening, a grip of anxiety as he waited for her next words. The world outside, the sprawling urban night, felt miles away. Esther took a trembling breath, and for a moment, he thought she might falter. But then, out of nowhere, a determined spark ignited in her eyes. "There are powerful men watching you. They know your secrets. They're not just in your business, they want your life." Cheng swallowed hard, as the weight of her words sank in. The back alleys of corporate espionage flashed through his mind, all his rivals and enemies. An enemy was an afterthought, a ghost ID barely acknowledged. "What do you know?" he pressed, feeling a floodgate of fear crack open within him. They won't stop until they get what they want. "You can't trust anyone," Esther urged, her voice barely more than a whisper now, but each syllable felt like a dagger plunging into his gut. The crowd's expression shifted from intrigue to alarm. It was palpable, the tension molded the air, wrapping around them all, squeezing out the last remnants of casualness from the evening. Chang's instincts kicked in. He was a businessman, used to calculating risks and benefits. But this? This was tangled chaos, a knot he didn't know how to untie. How would you know any of this? He inquired, voice steadying as his mind raced. But deep down, the creeping dread began to morph into something different, a boiling curiosity. For how could a girl like this unravel pieces of his life that he had fought so hard to keep hidden? Before she could answer, a sudden crash echoed down the corridor. "Who's there?" Chang's voice rang out, resonating with authority, though his heart trembled. The crowd turned, the collective gasp loud enough to chill the atmosphere. There, silhouetted in the dim light, stood two figures dressed in tailored suits. Sharp and menacing, they moved as if gliding across the plush carpet, disdain written across their faces. An unsettling smile curled on one man's lips, an eerie glint in his eyes. "Chang Wei, I believe the girl has something you want to hear," the taller one said, voice smooth and dark, cutting through the tension like a knife. Every instinct in Chang screamed to flee, to retreat into the protective walls of power he had always relied on. But he sensed the girl beside him, her fierce gaze steady and unwavering, and an unexpected resolve started to kindle within him. There was something more than fear in his chest now, it was the push to confront whatever was about to transpire. As the men advanced, Esther's hand shot out, grabbing Chang's wrist. "You have to trust me." The world narrowed into that one moment, with danger lurking just within arm's reach. What secrets lay waiting to be unveiled? And what would it mean for them both as they stood on the precipice of something dark and twisted? The next heartbeat could change everything. Chang's mind raced, the gravity of their situation pressing down on him. Sweat beaded at the nape of his neck as he felt Esther's grip tighten around his wrist, grounding him in a swirling sea of dread. The two men continued their slow, predatory approach, eyes trained on him with a hunger that sent a jolt of adrenaline surging through his veins. "What do you want?" he blurted, his voice trembling despite his efforts to sound in control. The taller man stepped forward, his smile widening, revealing teeth that seemed too sharp. "It's not what we want, Chung, it's what you owe." The words rolled over him like a dark wave, pulling him under. "Miaosher de ji hua zenmi ji xing?" Esther's voice broke through, fierce and confident as she shifted between languages effortlessly. Chang barely registered what she said. The guy in the suit flinched, a flicker of confusion crossing his face. The second man, smaller with glasses framing eyes that glinted like broken glass, scoffed. "You think we're afraid of her little games? We don't need to understand her to take back what's ours." Chang's heart hammered against his ribs. The tension was thick enough to slice. He glanced around, the crowd had gone silent. Eyes widened in shock and anticipation, they were witnesses to a scene that felt straight out of a nightmare. Chang felt the heat of their scrutiny, like 1,000 unspoken accusations hovering in the air. "Let me make this very clear," the tall man continued, his voice dropping low. "You don't know who you're dealing with. These aren't just any secrets." His words hung like a guillotine above Chang's head, ready to fall. The back alleys he frequented, the shady deals he made, they no longer felt like mere whispers in the dark. His skin prickled, a cold realization cutting through the fear. These men weren't just after his business, they were after his life. The sacrifices he had made were building blocks for a dangerous game, and right now, he felt small. Esther stepped closer, her presence both a comfort and a reminder of the chaos around them. "You have to realize they're lying to you. They don't hold the cards," she said, defiance simmering in her voice. A low chuckle bubbled from the smaller man. "You think standing in front of this girl protects you? She's just a pawn." Chang felt anger surge through him. Who was he if he shrank back now? "I will not be your pawn," he declared, forcing his voice to steady. "Whatever you think you've come for, this ends tonight." The tall man chuckled darkly, crossing his arms. "How charming. But we both know how this ends." Before Chang could respond, Esther shouted, "Run!" The glass doors of the lobby shattered as the two men charged, their positions shifting from amusement to cold, lethal focus. Chang felt an icy hand of fear grip him while Esther pulled him toward the side exit, weaving through the chaos as shattered glass crunched underfoot. "Wait!" Chang shouted, pulling back. The instinct to flee mixed with the need for answers. "What are we running from?" "You'll understand soon enough," she replied urgently, glancing back, panic flickering across her features. Just as a shout pierced the air, Chang sensed movement behind him. He turned to find the tall man, lunging for them with a speed that left no room for hesitation. Heart racing, Chang knew they had mere seconds. Trust or retreat? No time to think. Come on. Esther pulled him forward, adrenaline propelling them into the unknown. But as they pushed through the door into the dusky streets, a burning question filled his mind: who had they really just disturbed, and what would it mean for both their lives? The night was far from over, and danger loomed ahead. The air outside crackled with energy, the distant sounds of the city contrasting sharply with the tension lingering in Chang's chest. They darted into an alleyway, shadows swallowing them whole, every heartbeat echoing in the silence. Esther pulled him deeper into the labyrinth of darkness, urgency etched on her face. Why did you stop? Chang gasped, trying to catch his breath, his mind still racing through possibilities. What do those guys want from us? Esther's sharp eyes darted back, the glint of fear tempered with something fierce. You saw how they reacted to my words. It's not about the money, this goes way deeper. Your past, it's part of something bigger than you or me. Something darker than he had imagined twisted in his gut. Secrets had a way of festering, and now they had exploded into this chaotic reality. Chang glanced back toward the mouth of the alley. The Mandarin followed, but the danger felt palpable, a whisper echoing from the depths of his past. Why me, Esther? He croaked, the question spilling from his lips without thought. I left that life behind. She squeezed his arm, grounding him. Because you're part of it. They know things about you, things that could ruin everything. A shout broke through the darkness, carrying urgency that sliced through the night air. Chang's heart raced once more, fear flooding through him. What do we do now? Hide, she managed, her breath coming in quick gasps. I have a place nearby. It's safe. But as she spoke, her confidence wavered, uncertainty threading her voice. Chang weighed his options. The alley ended at a road that led to the chaos of city life, or they could head deeper into the shadows that felt more like a trap. What if they find us? Esther shook her head, her resolve hardening. We need to keep moving. Trust me. So he did, allowing her to guide him through the twisting passages, moonlight painting their path in stark shades of silver and black. The uncertainty in his gut didn't wane, and every step seemed to echo a warning. The city had eyes, and he could feel them watching, waiting. Then they rounded a corner, and the narrow passage opened into a courtyard flickering with the dim light of a single street lamp. His pulse quickened, an ear-splitting crash shattered the eerie stillness as a dumpster tipped over behind them. Run! Esther urged, gripping his wrist again, but the street slanted steeply down and their footing faltered. They stumbled, the sound of their voices mingling with the distant cries of the night. As they barreled forward, Cheng's chest tightened as a realization uncoiled within him. They weren't just running from those men, they were running from the shadow of his own decisions, the consequences he had tried to bury. How had they caught up to him so easily? Rounding a corner, a figure stepped into their path, blocking their escape. The silhouette shifted under the lamp's glow, revealing familiar features that twisted his stomach. It was Adrian, a ghost from the past he thought he'd left behind, eyes glinting with mischief and knowledge. Chang froze. What a reunion! Adrian chuckled softly, his voice smooth yet laced with menace. But you never did understand the game we were playing. Chang felt a surge of dread. This was the confrontation he had tried to avoid, and now it had come to claim him in the worst possible way. Why are you here? He demanded, trying to keep his voice steady. Can't you guess? Adrian grinned, a shark about to feed. You owe me, Chang. And I've come to collect. The night darkened around them, a storm brewing in the shadows, and Chang stood at the precipice of his past choices, knowing whatever happened next would drag them both under. Chloe's eyes flickered between determination and fear, reflecting the impossible choice they now faced. As the first hints of dawn began to bleed into the sky, Chang felt a surge of hope crash against the weight of despair. Would he sink or swim? And what would it cost him to find out? Chang's mind raced as Adrian stepped closer, the menacing grin unwavering. Every word dripped with a combination of threat and mockery that tightened the knot of fear in his stomach. He could feel Esther tense beside him, her breath hitching as the air thickened with dread. What do you want from me? Chang managed to stammer, his heart pounding like a war drum. It felt as if the shadows themselves were creeping closer, eager to smother him. Let us not play games, Chang. We both know you've run far and wide from who you were. But the past has a way of catching up, doesn't it? Adrian's laughter echoed off the brick walls, growing sharper, more taunting. You've got something I need, something that can turn the tide in our favor. Adrian's words cut into him, unearthing buried memories, faces, and terrible decisions. The past felt like an old friend, clinging to him with greasy hands. He swallowed hard, planning his escape, but confusion wrapped around him like a thick fog. I have nothing for you, Adrian. I've left that life behind. His voice wavered, a crack in the facade of bravery. Oh, but you're wrong, Adrian said, stepping even closer, their breaths mingling in the cool morning air. You have pieces of information, connections that could either make you or break you. And I want them. Chang exchanged a quick glance with Esther, her eyes burned bright with determination but mirrored his terror. Every moment spent here, standing before an embodiment of his past, felt like it could be his last. Esther squeezed his hand tighter, a lifeline amid gales of uncertainty. Why should I? Chang started, but Adrian cut him off with an amused snort. Because if you don't, I'll make it my mission to ruin you. Not just you, but everyone you care about, including her. His gaze pierced straight to Esther, setting off a spark of fury in Chang. Don't you dare, Chang hissed, a protective instinct surging through him, like adrenaline igniting his bloodstream. What are you going to do, Chang? Hurl some late-night threats my way? Adrian's demeanor was open, careless even, like a cat basking in sunbeams. It's now or never. The world around them felt as if it had paused, the noises of the night fading, just the oppressive weight of revelation hanging between them. Chang's instinct screamed at him to act, to run, but where? In that moment, Esther stepped forward, her voice steady, challenging. Chang's not the only one you need to worry about. We're in this together. You can't intimidate him with empty threats. Adrian's eyes glinted in surprise, perhaps even admiration for the fire in her voice. Didn't he know you had a backbone, Esther? Maybe I underestimated you both. For a split second, the tension diffused slightly. The unpredictability in Adrian's reaction shifted the balance of the confrontation. But that didn't last. The danger still loomed heavy, fangs bared. Chang felt the urgency stirring, the need for a decision. He could see Adrian's resolve hardening, the unmistakable glances towards his friends in the distance, lurking like hungry wolves. Chang needed to protect Esther but also find a way out of this trap. Okay, Chang breathed deeply, his pulse racing with fear and determination. Let us talk. Just let us move this to a safer place, away from the street. Adrian shifted, leaning back, the smile curling at the edges of his mouth. Now we're making progress. But know this, for every second we waste, the danger multiplies. As they broke into a hesitant motion, Esther's fingers tightened around Chang's wrist, and they began walking with Adrian leading the way, the shadows surrounding them closing in like a cage. What lay ahead was unknown and fraught with peril, the city awakening around them, unaware of the brewing storm. Where was Adrian taking them? What kind of deal lay in wait in the darkness? This one just a fight against a past he thought he'd escaped. It was an engagement with fate, and there was no turning back. But with every heartbeat, a horrible question loomed: would this be the choice that sealed their fates? The streetlights flickered as they moved, casting erratic shadows that danced ominously around them. Chang's heart raced faster, each beat echoing in his ears. Esther's grip tightened, a reminder that she was with him, though he felt the weight of their dire situation. Adrian led the way through dark alleyways, turning corners sharply, as if he were a predator and they were the prey. Chang's mind churned with desperation, calculating a potential escape. But every path they took seemed to only tighten the noose around his neck. Where are we going? He asked, trying to sound calm despite the tremor in his voice. Adrian glanced back, his smirk unwavering. You'll see soon enough. Just remember, Chang, I can make it very hard for you if you don't cooperate. An undercurrent of dread coursed through Chang, amplifying his nerves. He couldn't shake the feeling that Adrian was relishing this twisted game. But what kind of information could he have that Adrian desperately needed? The memories of his past felt like ghosts whispering, urging him to remember, reminding him of what he had sacrificed to escape that life. Esther leaned closer, her voice barely above a whisper.
Chang, we can't let him intimidate us. There has to be something we can use against him.
He glanced at her, the fire in her eyes igniting a spark of hope within him. You're right. We have to stay sharp. Adrian suddenly stopped, gesturing for them to enter a dimly lit bar nestled between two crumbling buildings. The heaviness of the door creaked ominously as they stepped inside, where the air was thick with smoke and unspoken secrets. Chen glanced around, feeling the weight of numerous eyes upon them. He was sure they were not the only ones with shadows falling behind them. Adrian led them to a secluded corner, away from prying ears but close enough for an audience to watch the unfolding drama.
Now, let us chat, shall we? Adrian leaned back in his chair, oozing nonchalance.
I trust you two know how precarious your situation really is. Cut to the chase, Adrian, Chen said, doing his best to mask the tremor in his voice.
What do you want? Adrian's expression shifted, becoming serious, almost predatory.
There's talk of a new venture, Chang. A merger that could yield mountains of gold.
But it needs a specific piece of information, one that only you have.
Chang felt a chill creep up his spine. His past, which he had so carefully buried, had returned like a vengeful ghost demanding acknowledgement.
What do you think I can possibly give you? I told you, I left that life behind.
Yet here you are, tangled in your old web, Adrian replied smoothly.
I know the people you used to work with. You have access to the blueprints of their new operation. The gravity of Adrian's revelation hung heavy in the air. Chang's mind raced through the implications. What kind of danger had he unwittingly walked into? Seriously? That's really it?
Esther shot back, her voice rising in defiance.
You think we'd ever help you? Adrian's smirk returned, sharper this time.
You're in no position to make demands.
But here's the kicker, you have a choice, Chang. Help me, and I'll ensure that you and your charming friend here walk away unscathed.
A silence enveloped the table, the stakes trembling in the air.
Chang's heart thudded louder.
Or refuse, Adrian continued, and watch the downfall of everything you hold dear.
As Chang stared into Adrian's icy gaze, a wave of uncertainty washed over him. He needed to protect Esther, but at what cost? What kind of deal would he have to make to safeguard their lives?
Before he could respond, the bar's back door swung open, shadows spilling in and the tension so thick it choked the air. A familiar figure stepped inside, eyes burning with fury, a remnant from the past walking into his new life.
Chang! The figure called out, their voice slicing through the atmosphere like a knife. Panic shot through him as he turned to face the approaching danger, leaving him with no choice but to confront the past once more. Will this revelation shatter everything he has fought to protect? Chang's stomach dropped as he locked eyes with the newcomer.
His breath hitched in his throat. There she stood, Mei, a ghost from his past, with fury etched on her face, surrounded by a cadre of henchmen that rolled in with her like a dark storm.
What are you doing here?
Chang's voice barely escaped his lips, the words feeling heavy and foreign. Mei stepped closer, her expression a mix of outrage and betrayal.
You didn't think you could just disappear, did you? You owe it to us to come back and fix this mess.
Her finger jabbed through the smoky air, punctuating her claim. Adrian leaned back in his chair, seemingly amused.
You two know each other. How delightful.
His eyes gleamed, relishing the chaos, feeding off the fracture in Chang's composure. He was clearly enjoying the unfolding of this drama. Esther's grip tightened on Chang's arm, her presence a tether in the chaotic swirl of emotions.
Chang, we can't, she began, but the words caught when she glanced at Mei's followers, their muscles coiled and ready for a fight.
Stay out of this, Mei snapped, her gaze flicking to Esther with a glare that could cut glass.
This is between me and him.
Chang felt a surge of protectiveness for Esther, the fire in his chest igniting.
You don't understand, Mei. I'm not the same person anymore. I left that life.
Oh please, Mei spat, her voice dripping with venom.
You think you can just walk away with no consequences? You think you can leave us all behind while you play house?
Everything inside him was tightening like a vice, fear mingling with anger.
Each second hung heavy.
May was right, his past had come back to haunt him in the most brutal way.
What do you want from me?
He finally managed, the tension clawing at his throat. May stepped closer, her voice dropping to a low whisper that silenced the room.
I want the blueprints. That's the reason why you're with him, isn't it?
You're still tied to that life whether you like it or not. Adrian's grin widened, as if this was the most entertaining show he had ever witnessed.
You see, Chang? They want the same thing I do.
But unlike me, they may not have your best interests at heart. Panic surged within him, swirling aggressively as he weighed his choices.
Betray May? Or betray the fragile trust between him and Esther? Esther's eyes searched his, pleading. Chang, we can't trust her. She's not looking out for us. She'll only bring you back into danger.
May laughed bitterly, her voice slicing through the noise.
Danger?
I brought you into something far greater than your silly little life can handle.
You just have to stop running. No!
Chang shouted, the word echoed in the charged air. He stood tall, fueled by a newfound resolve.
I'm not running anymore, May. I will decide my own fate.
With that, the atmosphere in the bar shifted. The crowd sensed the tension, whispers bobbed from table to table, eyes darting, watching as an old rivalry ignited right there. Adrian interjected, his voice dripping with mockery.
And how do you plan to do that? Do you think they'll let you walk away after this?
Just then, the door swung open again, throwing a wash of light into the dim bar. Another figure stepped in, and this time the boisterous laughter cloaked in darkness, turned to instant silence. Everyone turned to see who was next to enter, their faces frozen in anticipation, the line between friend and foe blurring even more. Chang's heart raced, dread settling in.
What had he stumbled into?
The past was supposed to stay buried.
Maybe, he thought desperately, maybe I can still escape this, but at what cost?
And as the new figure stepped forward, Chang realized he might not have a chance to choose at all. Chang's eyes widened as the newcomer strode into the bar, instantly stealing the air from his lungs. The light illuminated a face he never wanted to see again, Jean, the ruthless enforcer from his past. His presence was like a thunderclap, sending palpable shockwaves through the room. Chang, Jean called out, his voice smooth and taunting, echoing in the tense silence. Didn't he expect to find you here, playing house with these fools? Everything in Chang recoiled at the sound of that name. Jean was a ghost, just like May, but far more dangerous. He took a step forward with an intimidating swagger, the henchman behind him bristling with energy, ready to pounce at any moment. Chang turned slightly to Esther, whose face mirrored his own horror. This is bad, she whispered, fear etching deeper into her features. His heart raced as he met her gaze, uncertain if he could protect her from the impending storm.
Are you really going to let her drag you back into this mess?
Jean continued, his eyes glinting with sadistic pleasure. You might have disappeared from our line of sight, but we both know you can't escape what's written in blood. May stepped in front of Chang, her bravado faltering under the weight of Jean's presence.
Stay out of this, Jean. He's not yours to claim anymore.
Jean chuckled, a sound devoid of warmth.
Claim? Oh, May, it's not about claiming him. It's about settling old scores.
Chang left us, but that doesn't mean we forgot about him. His gaze locked onto Chang's, the air thick with tension.
Chang felt his throat tighten, beads of sweat prickling at his brow.
Jean was right, no matter where he tried to run, his past was a relentless predator. I'm done with that life, he insisted, but the fervor in his voice wavered.
I'm building something new. New?
Jean barked, laughter spilling from his lips like poison.
You think you can have a new life while the old one festers? You're a fool, Chang. And May? She won protect you. Not from me.
Esther squeezed Chang's arm, her chill spreading through him. We need to get out of here, she urged, but the words felt futile. There was nowhere to run, the door felt like a trap, the enemies encircling him like a noose pulling tight. As if reading his thoughts, May snapped back at Jean.
You think I'd let him go so easily?
The anger in her voice rose, creating an uneasy energy in the space.
He has something we all need. What? The blueprints?
Jean scoffed, stepping even closer, his smile sharpening with menace.
No one is going to draw blood for documents. This is personal.
Cheng's heart pounded louder than the bar's deafening silence. The stakes had turned deadly, pulsing in the air like a war drum.
With each passing second, he knew his choices were dwindling.
He couldn't hide anymore. Suddenly, a fist slammed down on the bar, cracking through the tension.
Enough! Everyone needs to calm down. Adrian shouted, his voice slicing through the chaos, somehow still alluring, as if he relished the unfolding drama.
The moment felt suspended in time, eyes darting back and forth, weighing the odds. Chen could see the thrill in Adrian's eyes, taking pleasure in the mayhem, almost as though he were orchestrating a symphony of destruction. Let him go, May demanded, but the confidence in her voice faltered as Jean's features hardened. You still don't get it, he said, his smile like a wolf's. You don't get to choose who leaves this game. We all have our roles to play, whether we like it or not. Cheng felt the ground beneath him shift. A rush of adrenaline took him by surprise, the desperation for Esther surged within him. He had to make a stand, but what cost would it take? And in that moment, as the tension hung like a noose around their throats, Cheng realized that running wasn't an option anymore. The choices he faced could either shackle him to the past or tear everything apart. What would he choose when the clock struck midnight? Would he stand and fight, or would he risk it all to protect the one he loved? Cheng's breaths came in rapid bursts, each pulse of his heart drumming a warning. The air was electric, thick with threats hanging just out of sight, and for every second that trickled past, the chance to escape slipped further away. Cheng Jin leaned closer, his smile chilling. Let us cut the games. We both know this isn't just about you anymore. It's about survival. And for you, that means making sacrifices. Esther's grip on Cheng tightened, her fingers trembling like leaves in a storm. The look in her eyes screamed uncertainty. We can't just stand here, she urged, her voice breaking. We need a plan. Jean stepped back slightly, as if relishing their fear. A plan? What's a plan going to do, darling? It won't change the fact that you owe debts, Cheng. Debts that must be paid in full. In the reflection of the beer-stained bar mirror, Cheng caught a glimpse of himself sweaty, desperate, cornered. Memories flashed in his mind, shadows of choices he thought he'd buried. The ghost of his former life wove through the shadows of the room like a phantom, taunting him with every heartbeat. Listen, May interjected, her voice cutting through the suspense like a knife. This isn't just a matter of past wrongs anymore. We have something they want. They can't just take it from us. Cheng could feel Jean's gaze searing into him. The smirk had vanished, replaced by steely determination. What is so precious that you think it will save you? An old map? You're clinging to nothing but dreams, May. Suddenly, a knife's metallic gleam caught Cheng's eye, one of Jean's men fidgeting, the weapon ready at his side. Fear clutched at Cheng like a vice, and instinct kicked in. We can't wait for them to make the first move, he whispered to Esther, anxiety suffocating him. Esther's brow furrowed, an electrifying resolve sparking to life. Then we fight. She breathed, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Cheng could almost see the fire in her eyes, a fierce glow that promised defiance. Across the bar, Adrian leaned back, almost amused. Fighting against fate is a fool's errand, he called out, eyeing them. But by all means, go ahead. This is getting entertaining. Ignoring Adrian, Cheng fixed his eyes back on Jean. Every ounce of fear crystallized into anger. You think you can play puppet master? I'll show you who gets pulled by the strings. Two of Jean's henchmen moved forward, shadows closing in around him. Cheng felt a surge, instinct merging with the palpable threat. Get down! He shouted as he shoved Esther aside. Shattering glass erupted next to him, and chaos enveloped the bar like a wildfire. The crowd, once frozen in horror, erupted into panic. People screamed and ducked, shoving their bodies against the walls as if they could melt into the wood. Esther stumbled but fought to keep her footing. The music that had once thumped faintly transitioned to a cacophony of chaos. Chen grabbed May's arm and pulled her closer.
We need to regroup. Find a way out, now. He urged. He pushed past blurred faces, adrenaline igniting his senses.
Outside was only a door away, but past experience told him running wasn't an option.
More shouts echoed behind him.
Fists flew, the air thick with the tang of sweat and fear.
Jean's laughter cut through the madness, taunting, maniacal. You think you can escape?
He spat, his voice sharp like a blade.
I'll track you down like a dog, Chang. You can run, but we'll always find you. With eyes wide and frantic, Chung took in the scene. The bar transformed into a battlefield.
Adrenaline pumped through his veins like a raging river. He had to move, but every direction felt fraught with danger.
Chang. Esther's voice pierced through the noise. Over here. I found a way.
She pointed to a narrow back exit, flickering reflections of emergency lights dancing off her scared expression. But as he turned, a scream split the air, not from Esther, but from someone else. A sudden crash reverberated in the back, sending more bodies thrashing into the fray. The world outside wouldn't guarantee safety. Cheng froze, caught between the cries of the chaos blooming around him and the urgency of escape.
Was it too late? And as the scene blazed out of control, shadows of his past loomed ever closer. What decisions would lead him through the flame? The night was far from over, and the darkness still whispered hidden secrets. Who among them would rise unscathed, and who would fall?
As the chaos erupted around them, Cheng felt the electrifying surge of adrenaline mixed with a fear deeper than he ever thought possible. The bar had turned into a battleground, and every shadow concealed a lurking predator.
Cheng! Esther shouted again, panic rising in her voice. This way! He locked eyes with her.
She stood by a narrow back exit, framed by the flickering lights. For a heartbeat, he hesitated, torn between the clashing worlds of his past and the faint glimmers of a future he desperately wanted. But the screams and shouts fueled his urgency. They needed to get out. He bolted towards her, narrowly dodging a swinging fist that connected with the bar, a drink flying off the shelf and splattering against the wall. The raucous laughter of Jean echoed, followed by his menace, gruff commands, and the sound of breaking glass. The air smelled of spilled beer and desperation.
Go! Now!
Esther urged as they bolted through the door. The cool night air slapped them in the face like a welcome bomb, offering a breath a chance. Outside, the alley was bathed in shadows, every corner concealing threats.
Cheng pulled Esther with him, urgency kicking them into gear.
They raced down the dimly lit passage, the sounds of chaos muffled behind them. Cheng's mind raced, weaving through the web of decisions he defaced, still haunted by the dark tendrils of his past.
Where do we go now? He panted, glancing back to see if any of Jean's men were hot on their trail.
There's a nearby subway entrance, Esther said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes.
We can lose them there.
They bounded forward, feet pounding the concrete like drums of war, their breath coming out in quick bursts. As they reached the entrance, Cheng's pulse thudded in his ears, a grim reminder that the darkness from his past was still chasing them. They slipped into the dimly lit station, full of shadows and echoing reminders of missed trains, shattered lives, and opportunities lost.
Cheng's thoughts burned like coal. What if this didn't end here? What if he couldn't escape? Cheng, Esther breathed, breaking through his spiral of thoughts. We need to decide what to do. Are you going to confront them or run from this?
His heart clenched. She was right. The ghosts wouldn't just vanish. He had to confront the very fears he had run from for years.
Cheng took a deep breath, determination seeping into his being. We fight. But I'll protect you no matter the cost.
Esther's eyes sparkled with newfound resolve.
Together then.
With that, they rode the subway deeper into the belly of the city, the strange calm of the darkened tunnel offering them a moment's respite. Cheng felt the weight of decisions piling up. If Jean and May were on his trail, it was a matter of time before they'd catch up, but deep within, there was also solace in having Esther by his side. Emerging at the next station, they slipped into the heart of the city.
Neon lights shimmered as if beckoning with promises of safety.
Their surroundings felt electric, every step tinged with the risk of being recognized, but the pulses of city life provided a kind of armor. As they navigated through the crowds, Chen sensed eyes upon him. It made him uneasy, like the air before a thunderstorm. Suddenly, a familiar voice cut through the crowds.
Chang!
It was Adrian, flanked by two hulking figures. Chang felt the dread pooling in his stomach.
What do you want?
He called back, infuriated. Adrian stepped forward, a smug grin plastered on his face.
Trust me, this isn't about revenge. It's an opportunity.
Mei and Jean are after you, and they won't rest until they have what they want.
Chang ground his teeth. And what is that? The blueprints.
Adrian said bluntly, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. You can't hide from your past, but you can still turn it to your advantage.
Chang's mind reeled. Did he dare to play this game again? You want me to negotiate? After everything? Exactly that.
You lead the deal, Adrian continued, weaving a darker fantasy in his mind. Propose an alliance and we wipe the slate clean.
Esther's voice sliced through the tension. You're playing both sides, Adrian. You can't be trusted. I never said I was.
He leaned closer, a whisper laced with steel.
But you two are standing at a precipice.
You can harness everything your past holds to unleash something powerful, or you surrender. For the first time, Chang saw the truth in Adrian's gaze. A flicker of hope mingled with despair. The truth was, he was entrenched in a dangerous game, one where every decision could ignite a firestorm or lead him to ruin. Let us find a safer place, Chang finally replied, weighing his options.
But understand this, I'm not doing this for you. Smart move, Adrian chuckled, turning on his heel. Welcome back to the game.
And they hurried after him, shadows and bright lights competing for effortless dominance around them. All the while, Chang felt hyper-aware, the specter of his life behind him, every heartbeat echoing thunder. He was walking into the jaws of danger, and with every step, entrusting his life and Esther's back into the hands of the very past he had wished to escape. But maybe, just maybe, as they played this maddening game, they could rewrite their fate. With raw determination, Chen clung to that flicker of hope, crushing his fears one step at a time. With one last glance at Esther, he bolstered his resolve. Their future was yet unwritten, and Chang knew that together, they would fight no matter the cost. Chang would reclaim his life or die fighting for it. If you enjoyed this incredible journey, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel.
Don't miss out on the next exclusive stories that are coming your way. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about this thrilling conclusion. Your voice matters in this community, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see how this drama unfolds. We're all in this together.